Check, check. Hello. Good evening. A public hearing for school financial integrity rating system of Texas, first of Marlin Independent School District will be held November 13, 2023, beginning at 5 p.m. in the middle school library, 678 Success Drive. A live stream and recording of the meeting will be available for viewing on the district YouTube channel. The system to be discussed or considered with any form of action may be taken or listed below. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on this meeting notice. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. Roll call. Board Manager Terry. Present. Board Manager Elders. Present. And Board Manager Johnson. All three board members are present. We do have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The 2022-23 overview of the School Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas first.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. Tonight we will have the 2022-2023 overview by Dr. Stacy Parker.
Oh, okay. All right. Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. As you all know, each year, part of ensuring that the district's fiscal integrity is intact, we go through a series of audits and ratings. And so tonight, I am going to go over Marlin ISD's fiscal year 21-22 first rating. This is actually conducted in the 22-23 school year, but it is for the prior fiscal year and what is being reviewed. So the purpose of this first rating, as I stated, is it just looks at our public education accountability system in Texas, and the primary goal is just to improve our overall management of our financial resources within the district. That is the purpose of the first report. Many of the objectives that they look at is just to assess our quality of our financial management here in the district, to measure and report to what extent our financial resources are allocated for what we say we're going to do, which is instruct our students, fairly evaluate the quality of the decisions that we make in our business office, and then just openly report the results to the general public, which is what I am doing tonight. And so this comes out of House Bill 5, and the Commissioner of Education utilizes the first rating, and it has indicators that give us a glimpse into whether our future financial solvency of our district, to anticipate what that is. And so basically, how strong are we financially, and how sound are we making our fiscal decisions to continue to progress forward in our district. They have a rating scale, much like report cards, where 90 to 100 is an A, superior, B, 80 to 89, a C, 60 to 79, and then F is 0 to 59. So going through our ratings, basically here is how they rate us. Did we complete the annual financial report and data submitted within the timeliness of it? And we did get a yes. Was there any unmodified opinions? Yes, which is good. Was the school district in compliance with payment terms of all debt obligations? Yes. And did we make our timely payments to TRS and the Workforce Commission and, all of the governmental entities? Yes. So all yeses there. Number 5 was not scored. We had an average of past and high ratings and cash on hand and a measure of current assessments and current liabilities. Also, our school district's general fund revenues equal or exceed expenditures, so we got a top rating for that because we met that criteria. Number 10 wasn't scored. There was a measurement for the ratio of our long-term liabilities to total assets that was looked at. We got the maximum points of 10 there. And was the debt per $100 of assessed property value ratio sufficient to support our future debt payments? We got the top payment, which means these are indicators that we got the highest score, so we were in a good position for that criteria. In our area of need improvements is that looking at our ratio, and so the school district's administrative cost ratio to the threshold, and so it measures function 21 and function 41, which are administrative costs typically to run the instructional program and to operate the district, as it compares to the ratio of what we spend out of the general fund for instruction, reading materials, professional learning, and some of our counseling support services. I do want to note here that while we didn't get any points in that fiscal year, highly to bringing in qualified staff to help with the improvement of the district, as well as we were still under and receiving funding for ESSER 3 and various grants that covered a lot of the costs for our instructional programming. So we were spending our money on instruction. We're just not having to do that during that time frame out of our 199. So our ratio was off in that. That didn't get us the maximum points for that area. So in the other areas to go on, we did continue to pass the remaining of the criteria for the first report, garnishing a maximum 10, and for 19, the highest score is 5, and passed on 20. So overall, the district did still receive an A for superior achievement. We did score 90 out of the 100 maximum points on all indicators. You can find our rating and look more into it on our Marlin ISD website, as well as there is detailed information about the first rating on TEA's website. Also, one of the required disclosures for the first rating is the superintendent's contract, and that's public information as well. And other required disclosures are the reimbursements, and it's to and on behalf of the superintendent and the board of managers. So when you attend those required governance trainings and go to those events, we are required to just disclose how much is covered on your behalf. Another required disclosure, we did not have any outside compensation. Our superintendent puts his sole energy into Marlin ISD, so he does not do any outside consulting or professional services for compensation. There were no gifts received by any of the executive officers or board of managers during that fiscal year. And we've not had any business transactions between the district and the board members for that fiscal year. And that concludes the coverage of the first rating. Any questions?
Board President Johnson, members of the board, I'm asking that Board President Johnson move on to item number 7, which is public comment as it relates to our first rating.
There were none posted online.
Yes, sir.
This is a regular meeting of the Marlin Independent School District being held November 13th, 2023, beginning at 5 p.m. in the middle school library, 678 Success Drive. A live stream and recording of the meeting will be available for viewing on the district YouTube channel. The subject to be discussed or considered upon which any formal action may be taken are listed below. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on this meeting notice. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. Roll call. Board Manager Terry. Present. Board Manager Elliott.
Present.
And Board Manager Johnson. All three members of the board is present. We do have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any public comments?
There were none posted.
Recognition. Lone Star Government Student of the Month, Lone Star Government Teacher of the Month, Employee of the Month.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. Tonight's Lone Star Governor Student of the Month, Ms. Jacinia Alexis Johnson. Ms. Jacinia Alexis Johnson was born May 13, 2013 to her beloved parents, Yesenia Johnson and Joshua Johnson. She attends Marlin Elementary, which she says is the best. She says one of the things that she likes to do is make inventions with her dad, who is the greatest. She also likes to go to her grandmother's beauty shop and help with chores. In fact, her first job was working at the beauty shop, not cutting hair, of course, but helping as much as she could. The education she feels she is getting at Marlin Elementary is great, and she says she hopes her hard work will pay off and she will get into a great college. So please bring up Miss Yesenia Alexis Johnson. Give another round of applause. For our Lone Star Governance Teacher of the Month, Miss Alexis Sanford. Alexis Sanford teaches pre-K-3 at Marlin Elementary. This is her first year teaching at Marlin, but she has been in education for 6 years. She's currently working towards her bachelor's degree in elementary education at Hartwell University. She says teaching is her passion, and she hopes to become a principal in the future. She loves spending time with her family and friends, and in her spare time, she goes hiking at different state parks. Please join me in congratulating and bringing up Alexis Sanford. Another round of applause. Next, we honor our Employee of the Month. With 18 years of experience in education, Ms. Lindy Mitchell has held various roles, including 10 years as a classroom teacher, nurturing young minds and fostering a love for learning, and 8 years as an instructional coach, supporting fellow educators. Currently, she serves as an instructional technology specialist in Marlin ISD. Her academic background includes a BS in interdisciplinary studies from Texas A&M University and a Master's of Science in Education Administration from Sam Houston State University. Throughout her career, Mrs. Mitchell has remained dedicated to the advancement of education and the growth of educators. Please join us in congratulating Ms. Lindy Mitchell.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Come over here for our picture. Thank you.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. We wanted to take a moment to recognize and appreciate our board of managers for the support of our first Bond 2022 project. So, in recognition of the Bond 2022 projects at Legion Field, we honor the dedication and hard work of those involved in bringing this vision to life. Your commitment to revitalizing this important community asset will leave a lasting impact for generations to come. Thank you for your leadership, innovation, and unwavering commitment to making Marlin ISD a better place. We have a plaque for you.
Board members like to thank the students of the month, the teachers of the month, educators. Okay. Congratulations. Approved to Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, deliberation of personnel matters to include superintendent evaluation and contract. Approved to Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, deliberation of personnel matter regarding 22 and 23 UIL concern regarding formal and current district employees. We're in closed session. We're back in open session at 6:06.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. Tonight, we'll begin with the bond 2022 update by Mr. Jesse Bustamante.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. The district continues to have meaningful conversations with all of our stakeholders and vendors just to ensure a successful project delivery. A few updates for our bond projects. Legion Field Track Cemetery Sports Construction will begin mobilizing this week to finish the track surface. Our baseball and softball project continues to make steady progress. The concrete work is complete. All that's left to do is finish up some fencing work and some site cleanup, followed by our windscreen project as well. Legion Field Press Box, the design phase continues. The district will begin finalizing the design for the press box in the next couple of weeks. The next three items, Marlin High School interior spaces, Marlin High School new competition gym, and Marlin High School site work, all tonight pending board approval. We are asking to move forward and negotiate a contract with 3 vendors. A few pictures from our baseball and softball project. As you can see, the site cleanup has made great progress, and then also the cement work around both complexes. Any questions? Moving on to KSM, extra and co-curricular activities are the key ingredients to a well-rounded education. These programs cultivate character, leadership, and valuable life skills that go beyond the classroom. Key strategic measure 5.1 is promotion of extra and co-curricular activities. We are measuring this by our extra and co-curricular club fair days. Program objective is to have 1 club fair day per semester, just to increase the interest and participation in the clubs and activities. We're currently on target to meet our program objective. Brief recap of our last meeting was to create a social media post for Facebook, Twitter, and then create a flyer to promote the upcoming fair day. Both of these items are completed. Some immediate needs going forward, still a lot of communication with our parents and community, communication with our students, and then increase the participation for the fair days. Some key takeaways and path going forward, create a social media post for our next club fair day, and then create a flyer as well to promote that event. Any questions? Moving on to 5.2, extra and co-curricular offerings based on student interest. We're measuring this by our extra and co-curricular student interest survey. Our program objective is to increase offerings for extra and co-curricular activities. Target completion is May 2024. We're currently exceeding our goal. We have a club for almost anything you can think of in Marlin ISD, so it's a good thing. We just have to increase our participation for those clubs. Brief recap of our last meeting, just to increase our sponsors and then 2 new offerings. We do have a target completion day of December of 2023 for those 2 items. Immediate needs, still increase participation and increase our club sponsors. Deliverables, our key takeaway is to increase our sponsors and then to have 2 new offerings by December of 2023. Any questions?
What do they have to do to be a sponsor?
So you have to work in the district, and that's pretty much it. That's the only requirement. Work in the district and have an interest and a love for students and be available. Moving on to key strategic measure 5.3, positive brand identity for extra and co-curricular activities. We're measuring this by our marketing tool audit. Program objective is to examine the district's promotional environment. Target completion is May of 2024. Currently on target to meet this program objective. Our deliverables from our previous meeting is print advertising and TV advertisement. We have a target completion date for those 2 items, December of 2023. Immediate needs, print advertising, TV advertising, and then just making sure that we reach all of our stakeholders. Deliverables, print advertising, and TV advertising. We have a target completion of December of 2023 for those 2 items. Are there any questions?
Next, we will have the 2022-2023 Financial Audit Report, Singleton, Clark and Company, PC, by Dr. Stacy Parker.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. A satisfactory audit is paramount importance for a school district, as it does ensure our financial transparency and accountability. A positive audit outcome can enhance the district reputation and maintain public trust, ultimately contributing to the overall success of the educational institution. So at this time, I'd like to bring up our auditor, Mr. Nathan White, and he's going to share the highlights of this fiscal year's audit with you.
Good evening. My name is Nathan White. I'm an independent auditor, partner with Singleton Clark. We'll just get right to it. If you guys don't mind, we'll go ahead and flip to the back of the report to page 105. All right, so I'm sitting here, I'm looking at page 105. The top of the page is titled The Schedule of Findings and Question Costs. Section 1 at the top here, we have the summary of auditors' results. The type of audit report issued is unmodified. That means we didn't have to modify any of the opinion language to suit the financial statements. Otherwise means the district's financial statements, we believe, are free from material misstatement. Down in the second bottom part of the page, if you will, goes over the federal awards. The district required a single audit, as it has for the previous years that we've been engaged, meaning that the district expended more than $750,000 in federal funding. The single audit was focused on 2 major programs this year, the special education cluster and then everyone's favorite, the ESSER cluster as well. That'll probably continue to go on, I would assume, through next year, and then after that it'll probably start going back and forth between special education, child nutrition, and maybe Title I. But that's it. We had no findings, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, no issues whatsoever related to the audit. If you guys don't mind, we're going to start flipping backwards. I know it doesn't make sense, I apologize, but we're just going to start by going back to page 59. And we'll touch on this very briefly, as a matter of fact. This is just a note disclosure saying that the district has recognized the new governmental accounting standard, GASB 96, for subscription-based IT arrangements. You all may recall, last year we did GASB 87 related to leases. So now every time you guys have a lease, that goes beyond 1 year, that goes on the district's books as debt. This is the same thing, just slightly different in relation to what the asset is. So, when we think of leases, we think the district, in fact, I think, well, not the district, the co-op just leased, if you will, a Ford Expedition or something like that in FY23. This pertains to like educational software. This could be any kind of software, really, that you guys, maybe you use it for all the different things that you guys were tracking earlier in the meeting. In what we looked at, all the stuff we reviewed, it all looked like it was year to year, or at least was anything material was year to year. Just know going forward, if you start signing up for, 4 and 5 year K through 6 English language arts online subscriptions, and it gets to a material threshold, we will have to record that and report that again as a debt expenditure going forward, which will show up on your government-wide financial statements, up there with like your bond debt and your current leases that you guys do have. But that's it. That's all we got on that. This year, like I said, you don't have any. If we could flip back one more time to page 26, we'll go over the district's fund balance. Again, we're on page 26. This is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. For all purposes here, this is your income statement. It's a nice two-pager this year. The far left column here, we have the general fund. If you can peer down toward the bottom of the page, you can see the district added about $736,000 to fund balance this year to end at $6,922,648. We generally suggest the district maintain anywhere between 3 and 6 months in general operating expenditure fund balance. Currently, this figure represents 6.8, so exceeding that by almost a full month. And certainly, you can go above and beyond that. That's not an issue. 3 months would be the bare minimum. And I believe even TEA takes a look at some of that stuff from time to time. If you want to look to the right of that, the district had 3 major funds this year. That is the Shared Services Arrangement Idea B formula. That's Fund 313. That's the formula version of the special education grant. And then the fund called Shared Services Arrangement Special Education. That's more or less the co-op's general fund. And then to the right of that, the Capital Projects Fund, obviously, for the sake of the issuance of the 2023 bonds and at $30,360,000. And the fund balance in that fund is ended at $32,109,279, which makes up basically your premium on the offering, less a little bit of the construction cost, or I think it was like engineering costs, if I'm not mistaken, leading to some of these projects that you guys were heading into and currently are doing now. But that's it for my prepared remarks. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to go over? I'd be happy to answer anything you got. Going once. Sold. Mr. Johnson, if I could, at this time, they won't let me go back to the front if I don't get my homework signed. Certificate of award. He's got a separate, like, leaf.
Thank you. All right, good evening again, Board President Johnson, members of the board. Good fiscal management is crucial for the success of school districts as it helps us build a foundation for long-term sustainability, ultimately benefiting our students and our community as a whole. So tonight, I'm going to present to you our financial report for October 2023. If you take a look on the screen or in your board book, you will see the general fund report for the month of October. As you notice, our revenue has started to come in for both the local and the state levels. And with that month's expenditures, of course, continuing to be the greatest in the realm of instruction. And then next, our operational side, you will see we were to the good that month. Same for our food services and child nutrition. We did start to get in our revenue, and we did receive a pot of federal revenue dollars. And so now you will see that we continue to do the cost of doing business for providing food services for our students, and we were to the good this month as well. In our interest and sinking account, once again, this is just residuals that come in as they collect, so it's only $22 for this particular month, but I do want to continue to point out the anticipated monies coming in will be those collections to pay back the debt for the bond, and we do anticipate that at the end of this year between now and February. In our construction account, you will note in the previous fiscal years indicated we did collect the funding for our propositions, and what we show here for revenue continues to be the interest that's earned on a monthly basis in the construction account. The expenses that come out per the month, wanted to note that with this account, we do have money in our pooled accounts, and we transfer funds in as we pay for those debts. So you will only see the revenue for the interest, but the expenses may not always match because monies are rolled over. And then lastly, as that continue to grow, you'll see it better in your board book, just a list of all of our accounts and the interest that's accrued. So our investment, we continue to earn a significant amount of interest in our funds. We have a tax pool account for some of our local monies where we continue to accrue interest, as well as our construction accounts, so that we can increase that revenue to be able to do some of the added bells and whistles that you see and that the community requests. Also in your board book, you will see the full check registry for the month of October, but I did just provide a snippet to just show an example of some of the checks that have gone out for the month of October. Are there any questions? So in looking at our purchasing guidelines and procedures, we realize that joining purchasing cooperatives is just a vital step in us taking the opportunity to seek to optimize our procurement processes and to activate cost savings. So tonight, we're asking the board to consider the district's membership into a Central Texas Purchasing Alliance. What CTPA is, it is an alliance of over 210 school districts in the Central Texas region and also throughout the state. They provide support for districts with our purchasing. They offer services such as mentoring, sharing of established contracts, exchange of purchasing tools and processes, and purchasing professional development. So professional development around our purchasing processes. One of the greatest benefits to belonging to this cooperative is that we do get an added benefit of increasing our vendor pool and who we would attract to be able to use to do various tasks for the district. The annual membership fee is $150, and there is a resolution that I'll be asking for you all to sign and accept. Are there any questions? Annually, we pay workers' compensation solutions to help our human resource department manage our workman's comp claims. And so workers' compensation solution is our preferred vendor for managing the workers' compensation. This service does provide medical costs, lost wages, disability payments for such claims. This is an annual cost to the district, and for the 23-24 billing amount, it's $39,752.28. And so we'll be seeking board approval tonight to continue with moving forward with purchasing this service. Are there any questions? So our Educational Service Center, Region 12, I have to say is one of the best that I've worked with, and they are actually the backbone of some of our district successes. So each year we employ them and seek out their guidance for a variety of services. And so tonight we do ask the board again to grant the approval for us to continue to partner with Region 12 for a variety of services, such as our our Sender software that house all our business and student data, our coordinated school health. They help us manage our Title III bilingual ESL programming, superintendent leadership, and a variety of other services. The contract amount is $149,020.77, and renewal of this contract comes from multiple funding sources. So if it's for business, it comes out of business. If it's for counseling, it'll come out of those funds. And so we seek approval tonight for to continue with that. Any questions?
Do we pay the same amount last year?
Yes, sir. And it's spread out. It looked different billing wise, but collaboratively, yes. Thank you.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. Vendor selection, CSP, 2023-23, stadium site work and landscaping related to bond 2022 projects by Mr. Jesse Bustamante.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. Do you cringe at the thought of parking your car at Legion Field? Are you fed up with entering the stadium through an old, deteriorating ticket booth? And are you tired of stepping in the mud on the way to your seat? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then we have a much-needed solution for you. A CSP was released on October 9th, seeking proposals from qualified vendors interested in providing construction services for the stadium site work and landscaping. You can see from these pictures, we're in much need of some upgrades. Scope of work for this project will include earthwork, landscaping work, fencing, concrete surfacing, parking lot upgrades, and then some utility work as well. Timeline for this project, we released the CSP October 9th. On November the 9th, the proposals were due, and then on November 9th, the committee also met to score the submittals. And then November 13th, today, we're asking for your approval to move forward with contract negotiations with the selected vendor. Selected vendor for this project is Dynamic Trades, founded in 2006, full spectrum construction and service company, over 450 employees, and they do have experience working in Texas. Are there any questions? Moving on, are you tired of enduring extreme temperatures to cheer on your favorite Bulldog teams? Are you ready to watch our athletes in action with the comfort of a climate-controlled environment? Well, the wait is finally over. An RFQ was released on October 29th, seeking proposals from qualified vendors interested in providing design-build services for the Marlin High School new competition gym. Proposed scope of work for this project will include, but not limited to, site work, building construction, interior finishes, and then a gym with the capacity of 700 to 1,000. We released the RFQ October 23rd. November 9th, the submittals were due, and then November 9th, the committee also met to score those submittals. On November 13th, we're here to ask to move forward with contract negotiations for the selected vendor. Selected vendor for this project is Verigy, over 10 years of experience, offices in Texas, and they have over 300 employees. Are there any questions? New build. We're still going to use the old gym. It'll be renovated. So we'll have two options now at the high school. A new gym and then our current gym. Moving on to Marlin High School. The Marlin High School building is far from ideal. Are you ready to provide our students with a safe, climate-controlled, debris-free, and dry educational setting that promotes optimal learning and growth? Well, the time for change has arrived. An RFQ was released on October 23rd, seeking vendors to provide design-build services for Marlin High School interior spaces, renovations, and new entrance. Scope of work, redesign specific interior spaces, interior finishes, lighting upgrades, some work to the high school building, vocational building, band hall renovations, and then design and construction of a new school entrance, roofing, and then also AC and HVAC upgrades. The timeline for this project, October 23rd, we released the RFQ. November 9th, the submittals were due, and then we are here today asking to move forward and negotiate a contract with the selected vendor. Selected vendor for this project is Target Solutions. They have 15 years of service. They're a Texas-based company, and they do have an office in Central Texas. Are there any questions? Moving on to our vendor selection for architectural and engineering services. As we embark on the second phase of this transformative journey with the BOM 2022 projects, it is important that we can join forces with an architectural firm that can turn our vision into reality. We released an RFQ October 23rd, seeking qualifications for vendors interested in providing architectural and engineer services related to the BOM 2022 projects. Scope of work for this project will include programming, preliminary designing, civil engineering, landscape design, architectural and interior design, drawings, and then architect consultation, and then the architect will create multiple bid packages as well for us. Same timeline, release RFQ the 23rd of October. November 9th, the submittals were due, and we're asking to move forward today and negotiate a contract with the selected vendor. Selected vendor for this project is MRB Group. They have offices in Waco and Temple, over 500 employees, and they do have experience working with Texas ISDs. Any questions? Moving on to a notice of violation of City of Marlin. As leaders of this district, we understand the gravity of this situation, and we're committed to rectifying this matter as soon as possible. We acknowledge the recent concerns raised by the City of Marlin, and we're taking swift action to address them in a transparent and accountable manner. On October 16th, the district received a notice of violation from the City of Marlin for the property on 202 First Street, stating that the district was in violation of Section 7-61 and violation of 7-62. The proposed resolution is to demolish the property on 202 First Street. The cost of this would be $10,000.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, so we received a letter in the mail from the city stating that we were in violation of a property. Of course, I was taken aback. I went to Lynette, and I was trying to figure out, like, what's going on. They said, you have 10 days to knock down the facility. She called the county. We found out it was 202 South First Street. So we went over there. Of course, we looked into it. The district, whenever things go on the tax roll, if no one bids on it and receives it, sometimes the property falls back on the largest taxing entity, which is the district. So we're going to have to work with the city to say, okay, if we assume 10 properties, 15 properties, 20 properties, are we going to be on the hook with having to demolish every property with funds that we did not budget for that ultimately are going to take away from the educational program? So with this first one, we're going to work with the city. We're going to do our due diligence to do the demolition, but we've been told that we're going to receive more notices. So I'm going to have to get with our city manager and our mayor, because I think on the roll right now, houses 7, 8, and to have an additional $100,000 that we didn't plan for, they're going to have to work with us in this. Yes.
moving on to our interlocal agreement. As good stewards of taxpayer dollars, it is our responsibility to ensure that every penny is utilized wisely and efficiently. We firmly believe that finding ways to obtain the best prices for goods and services is crucial to upholding our commitment to financial responsibility. The goal of the cooperative is to obtain substantial savings on food services items through volume purchasing. This is a membership for a single year. Currently, the following are procured bids that are offered through this agreement. So all of our fresh meats and produce, fresh bread, milk service delivery, all the items listed above is what we would be receiving bids for this interlocal agreement. Are there any questions? Moving on, Marlin ISD takes great pride in our district branding. Our school colors and logos have become a reflection of our school spirit, pride, and reputation. It's time to showcase our Bulldog branding beyond the walls of our school, off of Highway 6 and in our community. This project will consist of complete installation of windscreens with graphics on the selected areas. So as you can see, the items on the right-hand side, as you're driving, exiting Highway 6, you will be able to see all of our Bulldog graphics and just create an experience as you're driving in to Marlin ISD. A couple samples from other districts that use the windscreens with the graphics. Selected vendor for this project is Waterboard Graphics. They were founded in 2006, Texas-based company, over 50 employees. The cost of this project is $33,053.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, we've done a lot of work recently at our baseball and softball fields. I'm not sure if you noticed, so it was a lot of overgrown grass and weeds and logs and an old football sled. And so we made sure that if that's the first thing that we see whenever you're exiting, and our plan is one day to expand and go back to having a baseball and softball program, let's use the money now in bond funds to cement the area, clean the area up, and then wrap the fences in our Bulldog colors, Bulldog pride. So whenever you're exiting off of Highway 6, the first thing you see is going to be the graphics and the newly updated fences and markings at our baseball and softball field. So it's really a welcome to Marlin ISD property.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Thank you.
Nothing there. And this concludes the superintendent's report.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion, further discussion? If not, let's vote on consent agenda. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passed 3-0. Number 11. Do we have a motion for the action item considering the approval of superintendent evaluation and contract? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passed 3-0. Is there anything else we have discussed or we forgot? Not,